Hello plant friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Alanya and I'm a novice orchid grower here in suburban Western Sydney, where I'm navigating the wonderful world of orchids. If you are new to my channel, I share tips and tricks that I have learnt about how to grow these plants so that they thrive here on my tiny balcony, my kitchen and bathroom windowsill, here in my wacky subtropical climate. This is episode 3 of a series for absolute beginner with no experience required. No bells, no whistles, no equipment needed, just any orchid bought from either a supermarket or a hardware store. If you are finding this episode first, you can still watch this one out of order so that you will know what to do. But for identifying a good space or selecting your first orchid, I'll put a link to those episodes in the description box below to watch later after this one, and I'll also link them up here. Now, if you are following along with this series in real time, you've probably already chosen a cozy, well-lit spot for your orchid and figured out your temperature range in the space, and also possibly brought home your very first orchid. Woohoo! And congratulations! But now what? When you bring your orchid home, the very first thing that you really do need to check for is the bottom of the pot. And just to see if there is a little plastic plug in like this one here, and that's covering the drainage hole. You'll actually want to remove that plug from the pot, as this plug traps water in the pot, which can eventually lead to root rot. So go ahead and remove it and let that pot breathe properly. Just remember to do this over the sink, because sometimes there is water trapped in the bottom of these pots and it is easier to clean up in the sink than mopping out the entire floor. Yep, ask me how I learnt that one. The next thing you want to do is give your orchid a gentle watering. You don't need to soak it in water, just a light even watering to settle it in after the stress of travel, and let the excess drain freely from the bottom of the pot. Once it's drained, pick it up and pop it into your identified space. But for myself, however, I do like to, once I've taken that plug out, I like to completely flush the planting media out. It just rinses everything out and it helps freshen up the planting media quite a bit. And then that's it, hands off. Your next job is to sit back and enjoy the most beautiful flowers on your new orchid. Phalaenopsis flowers do last a long time, and in the case of mine, it had 19 unopened buds when I brought it home, and since then a further 7 or 8 have opened since I put it on the windowsill. There are a few new buds forming on each of the branches. I'm not sure if you can see them all in here. There's one here, there's one up here, and there's one further down here. And I'm fairly excited by seeing those. For the next 4 weeks, try and resist the urge to fuss over your orchid. Your orchid needs time to adjust to its new environment. During this time, you're just watching and enjoying. You're not watering much unless the roots look completely silver and dry. Now, my orchid doesn't have a separate nursery pot, but I have a lot of other Phalaenopsis in my collection, so I'm quite familiar with watering them and when to water them. This one, however, is still in its original planting media of sphagnum moss, and that's okay. Sphagnum moss is a natural product, often exported out from New Zealand to all around the world, and it's naturally a very absorbent and moisture retentive planting media, which is why it's perfect for shipping and putting these plants around the world, from their nursery factories often in the Philippines and into the retail space and then into your home. Unless it smells awful, there is no reason to do anything else with your orchid for now. Removing that drainage plug will help with the orchid and will help keep the media nice and fresh. After the month is up, it is time for a little health checkup. Is the moss still springy and fresh smelling? Or does it smell like moldy socks? Yep, that is the real thing. If your orchid's media smells musty, stale, or like your gym bag after a wet weekend, it's probably time for a repot. Now, my plant's media smells just fine. In fact, when I bought it, there was a very mild musty smell, but since I unplugged the base and I've left it drain, and I rinsed the planting media through very thoroughly, and my issue has largely resolved. I have made a whole video about this exact problem and how to fix it step by step. You'll find it linked in the description box below, and I'll also link it up here. It is an older video, it is a bit cringeworthy, but I unpotted a pair of Phalaenopsis with this exact problem and I still have them to this day. But if it smells like fresh and clean earth or like moss, you're probably good for a while longer. Just keep an eye on how the moss is drying out between waterings. You want it to dry a little bit on top before watering again, but this is also depending on your environment. If you're in a tropical and humid environment, a subtropical and a bit psycho like mine, temperate or zones 3 to 5 in the US, the planting media used in export of these plants is usually sphagnum moss. Now, as mentioned, it is moisture retentive, and as such watering can be nearly monthly during the colder seasons like mine, and maybe weekly or twice weekly in hotter, drier seasons. But again, that is all going to depend on your location and how the planting media acts in your environment. If your plant has a small clear internal pot, you can tell how dry the plant is by pulling the plant out of the decorative pot and inspecting the roots, as often these pots are clear. If the roots look green and beautiful like this larger specimen I have, so if they look green like this one here, beautiful. If they are dry and a little silvery like the aerial roots on this larger specimen, then you need to give it a bit of water. It can be as simple as that. Now, if the aerial roots are silver, that is perfectly okay. Even if your plant doesn't have aerial roots, it will with time, and they will be silver as they are naturally exposed to air and they will be dryish. Please don't cut them off. They are a natural feature of the plant, and if the plant has the energy, it will grow them, much like this crazy one here. I'll cover more about aerial roots in more detail in the final episode of this series, which is the growing cycle of the Phalaenopsis. For now, just know that they are quite normal and I'm always thrilled to see them. It just means the plant has energy to grow. Quick side note to aerial roots: in nature these plants are epiphytes, which means they grow on trees and the roots are used to anchor them in place. Their root mass absorbs water running over them with whatever nutrients that water might bring. We grow these plants in pots, which also means they are upside down to how they're found in nature. It is important to take a little care when watering these plants and don't water across the top. These plants are naturally roots up, leaves down, and when it rains the water runs across the leaves and away from the growing crown of the plant. If you do happen to get water in the crown, simply sponge it out with a paper towel and leave it to dry naturally. Leaving water in the crown can lead to crown rot and the demise of your plant, often quite rapidly, as quickly as overnight. Remember, healthy roots equal a healthy orchid. Don't be afraid to let the media breathe, and don't rush into repotting it just because you think you should. Wait until the moss or the roots tell you that it's time. We'll talk more in the last video about what to look for, when to repot, how to do it right, and how to tell if your orchid is thriving or just surviving. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this video was helpful, please do give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with the notification bell turned on for more beginner-friendly orchid care tips. And if this series inspired you to buy an orchid, what colour did you buy? Please do let me know in the comments below. For now though, happy growing, enjoy your plants, have a great week, and remember, your plants are always going to surprise you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.